Hey guys, yeah, in this video, I'll be doing as my Six Nations prediction for 2024. Before we get into this, make sure to like the video, guys, subscribe to our channel, and definitely leave a comment below to let me know your Six Nations prediction, as well as kind of just the order in terms of how the teams will do at the end of the tournament. But yeah, besides that, let's just crack on to this. So really, just in terms of the Six Nations, I just think it's me one of the most open, if not the most open Six Nations we've had in a very long time. Just because, one, it's after a Rugby World Cup, and again, a lot of these players, that are being, that have been selected is kind of now part of the new cycle. Obviously going into the next World Cup, and yeah, there's a lot of potential in terms of a lot of players that have been selected, but a lot of players who obviously have retired as well. So it's kind of like the new swing in terms of like, I guess, like the next evolution. For the Six Nations. So it's kind of cool to see that, of course, and kind of say which player can make an impact straight off the bat. But I would say that the second reason is, with the Northern Hemisphere, of course, really just playing their games immediately after the Rugby World Cup, it's meant that there's been a few injuries that have cropped up before the Six Nations tournament has begun. And again, it's kind of hammered every team, I think, in every case, just because. Yes, so maybe some teams that have a lot more injuries than others, but I would say that every team at least has one key player missing that won't be available for the opening round. So it's going to really, I guess, kind of hurt the chemistry, to say the least, of how the teams may go going forward in this tournament. But yeah, overall, just very excited to see kind of how every team does. Again, like I said, this is very open in my opinion. Again, most people would probably say France and Ireland will be the favorites, but I actually think it's a lot more open than that, just than them too. I actually think there's a few other teams you can mention in there. But yeah, no, I mean, going off the bat, we'll go straight towards the kind of the squads that have been announced already. I mean, with Ireland's squad obviously already here, the captain is Peter O'Mahony, who has been selected as the captain. And yeah, of course, the reason behind that is that Johnny Sexton is no longer playing rugby. And it's a big loss, obviously, towards Ireland. He was a great player, the talisman obviously on the side, and really just the quarterback and how they kind of ran things throughout the whole team, but particularly that back line, of course. And so it's going to be very fascinating to see how kind of they go in terms of that 10, that 10 position with Jack Crowley, but also just the rest of the kind of back line and how they kind of, I guess, kind of just the attacking players they kind of come up with. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, they have, the injury, I believe, of Mac Hansen as well, which is kind of a big loss for Ireland. In replace of him, they've brought in Jacob Stockdale, who is going to be pretty cool. In my opinion, I'm actually pretty I'll be glad to see him kind of come back and towards the international scene, because back, I think, what was it, like 2017-18, he was like one of the best wingers, you could say, in rugby. So it's kind of cool to see him kind of return and kind of get the spotlight once again. And yeah, hopefully he does pretty well. We'll see what happens on that front. But yeah, besides that, Ireland really have a kind of the strongest side they can go with. I mean, they obviously have Tad Furlong, they have Rowan Keller, they have they have James Ryan, they got Ian Henderson, they got Josh Van der Fleer, I mean, they got Doris. I mean, they literally have everyone in the forwards. In terms of the backs, they have Bundyaki, Robbie Henshaw, they got Conor Murray, I mean, they got James Singleton Park, I'm trying to think anyone else, Jordan Limer, that would be an interesting one. Even have Ole Jaeger off in the training things. That's kind of cool to see from a Super Rugby standpoint. But yeah, just overall, they have a very impressive side, guys. So it's going to be pretty hard to beat them at the end of the day. But yeah, again, the big losses for them is Mac Hansen and Johnny Sexton. So we'll see how they get along in that front. But yeah, maybe I'm then towards England as the next side I want to talk about. Again, England have a lot of injuries that have cropped up, I'd say, in the past week, which has kind of hurt their chances, I'd say, in this opening round against, because their opening game against Italy, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, they just saw that now Alex Mitchell and Marcus Smith now have doubts to even be available for the opening round. And Marcus Smith, it could be even out. It could be even for longer for him. So yeah, it's a big opportunity for Finn Smith as well, who's kind of going to come in towards this side. But again, there is also George Ford, who can easily cover that position as he did in the Rugby World Cup. So yeah, Steve Borwick also has a decision there immediately to kind of choose between them two. But yeah, I mean, the other kind of notable injury or kind of player that's missing out for them is Ollie Lawrence. He was selected originally, but he picked up an injury, I think, within the last week or two. So yeah, it's kind of hamstring them in the same way. And yeah, again, they have brought in Henry Slade, which is kind of a good addition, I think, towards the side. Again, he'll kind of be acting as the replacement for Joe Marchant, who of course is ineligible for selection as he is obviously playing in France now. But yeah, I mean, again, another player is Jack Wills, of course, another player they couldn't choose because he's in France. But yeah, besides that, I mean, Jamie George is the captain of the side, so it's an interesting choice. But hey, to be fair, he is seen as a leader, and kind of what we saw in that Six Nations talk. He definitely has experience in terms of just kind of rolling up the side and kind of being a good, a really good player for the England squad. So I can understand why he's been chosen as captain. But yeah, Ben Earl there as well, impressive tournament in the World Cup, so he'll be looking to kind of continue that form. But yeah, besides that, really, there's really not much I can say. I mean, I'm trying to think else. I mean, Tom Curry also still not available. They got Ben Spencer in there, Freddie Stewart. They got, I mean, Tommy Freeman will be an interesting one to see how he gets along. But yeah, besides that, we'll see how kind of this England squad does. But I do think they're a very, I think they're an underdog actually in this race, and I think they actually have a chance of winning the Six Nations. But we'll get into that very in a short bit. But moving on towards the next side, which is Italy. Italy, they have a really decent squad, I think, overall. They have a lot of young players now, and I mean more young players than they used to. But yeah, with Gonzalo Quadella, of course, now being the head coach for the Italians in replace of Kieran, it's going to be very fascinating to see how they kind of do on that front, because he obviously has a very different way. I think he's actually suited towards Italian rugby because in the previous, he obviously has been playing, he's been coaching, I mean, in France, and is kind of been doing a lot of attacking rugby there. And that's kind of what he also implemented within the Jaguares back in the day. But yeah, I mean, with Italy, I think the one key player that's kind of a bit of a doubt at the moment is Garbisi, unfortunately, which is a big player to miss out because he's a brilliant player to have in terms of that 10 position. But yeah, besides that, they have kind of the standard team with Stefan Varney, they got Sebastian Negri, they got Ange Capuzzo, they got I'm trying to look at else. I mean, they have Tomo Allen. Is Tomo Allen available? Let me just actually, I could be wrong with that. Yeah, Tommaso Allen is available because again, Tommaso Allen and Montioni will probably be the two most experienced players in terms of back line. So it's interesting to see how they'll do because they really got thumped in that game against the All Blacks in the World Cup. So they definitely need to work on the defense, I'd say, from the back standpoint. So yeah, let's see if they've improved that or not. But hey, they have a fighting chance against England because, again, like I mentioned before, they have some injuries that they're dealing with at the moment and doubts. So that could be closer than what most people expect. But anyway, moving on towards the Scotland squad here, guys. And with Scotland, they do have the likes of, they have a very good squad, guys, at the end of the day. I mean, they're only missing Darcy Graham is probably the big injury they're missing. It's just unfortunate because he was selected and then just got injured in the past few weeks. And then I'm trying to pick who else. I mean, they no longer have Stuart Hogg, which is a big loss. But again, Blair Kinghorn obviously will fill his boots. Finn Russell, of course, in there. Tupeloto, Ben White, they got Carl Stein. I mean, Cameron Redpath, Duhan van der Merwe. I mean, that back line is stacked, in my opinion. And then on to the forwards. I mean, they have some good forwards in there. I know Gilchrist is unavailable for the first game because he has a suspension, if I'm mistaken. So it's a kind of a big one key player to miss out. But yeah, besides that, I think Scotland have a good squad. Again, I don't think the fixtures are too kind to them, I'd say, this time around. But hey, we'll see what happens. But anyway, moving on towards, I guess, the Wales squad here. Wales, again, obviously the notable player that is missing out is Lewis Zammit, as he has obviously kind of gone towards the NFL in terms of the international player pathway routes. But yes, that's a big loss just in general for Wales and also rugby. But yeah, I guess in this place, there's a few other players obviously. Wales are stacked with wingers, guys. So I don't think they're missing out. Like they have a lot of depth in that position. So at least they're covered in that way because they have Rio Dyer, they got Josh Adams, they got George North if needed, they got Mason Grady. So there's a lot of cover there, I'd say. But I'm trying to think who else. I mean, in terms of the forwards, the big, I'd say, notable injuries for them is probably Jack Morgan because he's injured. He's just injured. Him and Lake, I believe, because those are the two co-captains, if I'm not mistaken, for what it was for the Rugby World Cup. But they're both not available for this tournament. So yeah, in replace of them, it's going to be Jenkins who's been selected as the captain. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting. A big call that, but. Again, I mean, Aaron Wainwright will be big for them. Recently signed a contract with Welsh Rugby Union, so another player at least that's staying on with Welsh Rugby, which is good to see. But yeah, of course, Alwyn Jones for this tournament as well. I mean, yeah, besides that, it's a pretty decent squad. I mean, Nick Tompkins, probably a key player for them, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, it's a good squad, guys. It's a good squad. But I do think a lot of people are, and I also do think this as well. I don't think they're going to have the best of tournaments. I could be wrong. But it's going to take a lot to. They could be a surprising team, but they're going to have to shock me in terms of the in terms of the games they play in. But we'll see what happens. You can never really underestimate Wales because they're always kind of a solid team overall. But yeah, I guess in terms of the final team here, we do have the likes of France. I mean, France are again missing out some key players. The big one obviously being Antoine Dupont. He obviously is playing for the sevens team now and will be unavailable for the rest of the tournaments as he is competing in Vancouver. But I know besides that, they're missing Makalou. I mean, Thomas Flamand. They're missing, there's Antimac, of course. There is now doubts with Matthew Jalabes. That's not good because if he's out, then I don't know what they're going to do because they may have to shift, Melvin Jaminet maybe in towards that position. Thomas Ramos, maybe, I don't know, but hey, other than that, I mean, they have a pretty decent squad. I mean, they got Maxime Lucy, who obviously is a good replacement, obviously, for Antoine Dupont in that 9 position. Gael Fakou, they got Gregory Elchford, who of course is the captain for the side. They got Cameron Walkie, Sachin Tapawana. I mean, they're also missing out Paul Williams as well. That's another player out, but and Anshin Jalange as well. Oh, that's another one. Oh my gosh, I forgot about him. Yeah, no, France are missing a lot of key players, guys. Yeah, they're not going to have the best team going into this Six Nations, that's for sure. But hey, they have a lot of key players also who kind of are coming back as well. Big one being Jonathan Gianti. Excited to see how he gets along. But yeah, I just think France overall, they have a very good fixture list up in this kind of them. So they definitely have a fighting chance in the Six Nations for sure. But yeah, I mean, look at this fixture list. Right? We'll just get into it right now. I mean, this fixture list is, I mean, if I had to say what is the best fixture list, I would actually say France have it because, they play Ireland first. And that's at home, so that's a pretty key fixture. And that could obviously determine the tournament entirely, really, in the first round. But then they play, obviously, Italy. Scotland away, which is probably the toughest one of the bunch, I'd say. But they play, Italy at home. Then they play Wales away. And then they play England at home for the final round. So it's pretty favorable in terms of the fixtures because they're playing Ireland and England, who I believe is probably the biggest competitors towards France at home. So it's definitely in their favor in that sense. But I mean, when we look at England, I actually think they probably have the second best fixtures because, they have the likes of Italy at home, then Wales. So I think that's 2 wins they should be able to get. But then Scotland is a tough one because it's away and they haven't beaten Scotland in a while. So yeah, that's always a tough fixture, I'd say. And then, England and them are playing Ireland at home, which is favorable towards them. But then if they do well in all those the first 4 rounds, then they have to face France in the final round, which could end up being kind of like a one-off game to see kind of wins these Six Nations overall. But I mean, Ireland have a decent fixture run. They have, France away at first, which is pretty tough. I mean, that's a pretty tough one to go with. Then you have Italy at home, then Wales at home, then you have England away, and then Scotland at home. So, I mean, again, Ireland are playing their two kind of main rivals away, which isn't good on that front. And then, again, with the rest, it's really kind of up. It's kind of like very even, I'd say, because Scotland play, Wales away. Then they play, France at home, which is in their favor. Then they play England at home, which is good. But then play Italy away, which is good actually in terms of the opposition you can play. And then you have Scotland play Ireland away, which is probably the toughest one out of the bunch, in all honesty. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mix and bag really with them. And then, with Wales, they play Scotland at home, which is in their favor at least. Wales are playing against England away, which is, I don't know. And then they're playing Ireland away as well. They're playing France at home, which is good. That's good in their favor. But then they play Italy at home, which at least is better in that sense when you're facing Italy. But it's a bit of a weird one. I mean, even Italy have some. I think Italy just have a very. I mean, they're playing Ireland, France away, which is not good. So that's just tough overall, just in general. And then obviously they play Wales, Scotland, and Scotland at home, and then they also play Wales away. Oh, sorry, they play Wales away. Sorry, but then they also do play. What is it? They have Scotland and England. So that's what I meant to say at home. But it's a tough Six Nations, guys. And again, if I had to make my prediction, I guess just overall, going off what I've seen here in terms of the fixture list, but just overall in terms of the players that we kind of went through over the kind of the teams. I honestly think most people will say Ireland and France will be the favorites, and for me, I actually think England has a real good shot. So that's kind of why my head is kind of looking more towards, I'd say, France and England being kind of the two, because I think England just have a very favorable fixture run with Italy and Wales, where I think they can get wins automatically, in my opinion. Just going off what we saw in the World Cup, the team they have, and the position that Italy and Wales are in the moment. So we'll see. But I could be wrong in that sense, but I just think England have a real good shot in those first 2 rounds, getting good wins. Scotland is going to be a big one. If they can get that, then that's a big one to get. And then if they beat Ireland at home, oh my gosh, they're in it. They can win the Six Nations. So I think England really have a good shot here, guys. But again, France have the favorable fixture list. And again, yes, they obviously are missing they're missing probably 6 key players, I'd say, which is massive in terms of the Six Nations. But France have so much depth. So, well, I mean, they're kind of solid either way. And that's the same with Ireland, by the way, as well. Ireland have a great side, but they're very unpredictable as well because there's no Sexton there anymore and Mac Hansen. So, particularly with Sexton, because obviously he's kind of like the quarterback in terms of how they run things. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they get along this time around. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm going to say, and you'll see it here, guys. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go from bottom to top. I'm going to say Wales to finish bottom. I actually think Italy can do it. So I'm going to say Italy will come 5th. Then I'm going to say... Oh, who do I go with here? Who do I go with? I'll say Scotland, I think, has to finish 4th. Then I'm going to say Ireland to finish 3rd, which is a big call, I know. And then it's going to come down towards France and England. Oh, it's a tough game. That's a really tough game. And France are hurting as well. So I'm going to say England 2nd, then France. I think will win it. I really want to say England to win it, but I just got to be logical also at the same time. And France also do have the best fixture run. So I'm going to say France to win it, England 2nd, Ireland 3rd, Scotland 4th, Italy 5th, Wales 6th. So yeah, let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my selection. Again, like the video, guys. Subscribe to our channel. And yeah, leave a comment below, like I said. Let me know your Six Nations prediction. I want to see in the comments, guys. Write them down. And yeah, I'll obviously like them and just give you my thoughts on them overall. But yeah, besides that, guys, hope you have a great day. And yeah, see you guys next time.